Hello and welcome to the Mental Health Gaming Podcast. Once again, I am Bradley, and joining me this week, he is a man of distinction. Some say he's a real big spender. All I know is he's good looking, he's really refined, and whether he likes it or not, he's going to find out what's going on in my mind. It's Stu. How you doing, Stu?
Pretty good. I can't really imagine a scenario where I wouldn't find out what was going on in your mind. Maybe if I gagged you beforehand, that might do it.
No, I know. I don't think that'd even stop me.
Nah, that wouldn't, would it? No.
I've got my hands.
Yeah. Sign language, gestures. Yeah.
Now, without going full Bobby Kotick on things at the moment.
No, you never go full Bobby Kotick.
You never go full Bobby Kotick. I've not got enough money to do that. But I was thinking about it the other day, and I just went, like, do you know, sort of like, I've never had a blind person come up to me and, like, touch my face to see what I look like. Am I allowed to go, and when I see, like, lovely women and men and everything else, like, anyone, go and see beautiful people, am I allowed to go and touch their face? And they have to allow me?
No. And also, you probably get arrested pretty fast if you tried that. So yeah, probably best not do it.
What about a fist bump?
Yeah, that'd be okay, I guess. Get some consent. Well, in the face. Yeah, I'd like to do that.
Just
quite
see what you look
people.
like from a distance. Socially distancing, checking what you look like.
Yeah.
But I've never known a blind person actually do that. Is that just a movie and TV trope?
I think it is. I think it's a bit of a trope by all accounts. Yeah.
But I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to touch people. I don't like going near people at the best of times.
Oh, I hear that. I don't like being near people either.
I thought you meant you're like, what you hear? Who's here? What? The ghost of Bobby Kotick.
Oh, Jesus. Can you imagine? Ooh.
No, before we get into games, Jesus Christ, we're finally finding out what is the what's the line at Activision. They're losing money, so he's got to go.
That's only ever going to be the bottom line for that.
Yeah.
It really was.
And it just really bugs me. We're going to start get all the negative crap out of the way first, but it really bugs me. Like, even the likes of Giant Bomb, Easy Allies, like, or any, like, IGN, any of them, any of the bigger coverage people, press, media, whatever you want to call them. Pundits, yes, that's what we are, pundits. Activision are doing bad things. What about that Call of Duty? That's good, or it's bad, or it's not doing this. Like, just don't cover their games. I mean,
yeah,
they're scum. Right? I think we can use scum in the right term. Manufacture scum, the Sun is scum, Activision are scum, Ubisoft are scum. You can use that. The Conservative Party is scum. The way you can use the actual term, I think Activision are in that category now.
Yeah.
Their games are crap. They're abusing all their staff. Why are we covering them on anything other than calling them out on their shite? And it needs the likes of Giant Bomb to get on board with that, rather than just adding it to a news story before going, in other news about Activision games.
I know, it's that kind of... If there's a car crash going on and a game is absolutely abysmal, they will kind of, go, ha, 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 yeah.
And they'll beat that dead horse as well.
Yeah, and they'll beat that dead horse. But unless they can make a news item out of it, they won't bother. And these outlets tend to not like going after things that are about sexual abuse, because it means that they'd have to, they realise they're going to come under scrutiny for it as well. That's the whole sort of patriarchal system, isn't it? It's like, you don't point the finger in case somebody goes, well, you actually assaulted somebody and it's on your record, kind of thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
It's why I'm glad the likes of Jason Schreier and Stephanie Sterling don't fold to the pressure of, can't we just talk about the games, and they still...
Yeah,
they've got some integrity, and I think they are some of the last bastions of integrity in the industry at the moment.
I agree. Certainly with a wide enough, loud enough voice, definitely, yes. And reach. Yes. I really hope that James Stephanie Sterling has a big reach. I think that they have quite a big following, don't they?
They used to, and then they came out as trans, and everyone started unfollowing.
Right.
So you get to see who are the hypocrites and the phobes and...
Yes, yeah.
It's come to a point where you can't even just go, who are the transphobes? I hope you just need to just go the phobes, because it just covers such a wide range these days.
I like that term, actually. Yeah, the phobes. Yeah.
It sounds like a knockoff Irish pop band.
Yeah, I can just imagine them doing the Irish country dancing.
Yes. Anyway, do you know what sometimes does go right?
What?
Video games.
True, not very often, but occasionally, yeah.
What have you been playing, Stu?
Well, not much, but something very important comparatively. So on the not much side, I'd say Tetris Effect connected, but ever since I've bought that, it's been on pretty much constantly. So
best game ever.
Yeah, it's like, it's not like gaming in a way. It's its own it's its own little slot. It's its own little category. I sit down at night and I do that whilst the telly's on. That's what I do. I think I'm finally improving. It's really funny because you get like a progress bar, an XP.
Yes,
you remember that? And
yeah.
And mine says expert now, just because I've been playing it for so long. And it's like, I am not an expert, my friend.
I've got that on certain games where I'm like a master and stuff like that. I'm not even a Tetris master. I'm not even going to pretend I'm up that level yet. But yeah, other games I've played RPGs that I absolutely suck at, and apparently I'm really good at them. I'm not.
I know. Yeah, put enough time into something and somebody will call you an expert. But my friend, his ex-girlfriend from years ago used to be amazing at Tetris and on the Game Boy. Yeah. And to a degree that I just couldn't and still don't really understand. It's just so good. And on this new one, I think it's even harder to get all the nuances, which is good. You want sophistication. And I think I'm just starting to get a little bit better at understanding it now and understanding the flow of it. And I'm really enjoying it. Yeah. Understandably, as it's one of the best games ever made.
Yeah, well, Game Boy Tetris and Tetris Effect are essentially different games. And I won't bore everyone with the details of why. My partner will only ever acknowledge the existence of Game Boy Tetris. No other Tetris exists in her mind. I can't even get her to play Tetris Effect. She refuses. She refuses also to play any Tetris that has the little ghost thing at the bottom for you to see where they go. She's hardcore.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. She's hardcore. If that's on there, she's like, no. She reckons it's a cheat.
Yeah. Well, no, that's fair. That's fair. If
high-level players, that's what they rely on. That's the only bit that counts.
But yeah, I mean, if that's what Tetris means to you, then that's perfectly cool.
Oh, I'm not one to say I won't. I keep trying to get her to try other ones, but I'm not going to go, I'm playing it wrong. But she plays it her own way, and that's what Tetris is about.
Yes.
Tetris is an allegory for life, really. Do you know what a T-spin is yet?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can
you do
kind
one?
of... I see it pop up every now and again when I'm working stuff into a corner that it probably shouldn't fit into. And I'm like, okay, that's worth that, Yeah, working out. So I've never seen a definition, but I assume what it means is rotating a piece into a space that it doesn't conform to without you rotating it.
Yes, correct. So you got your T-spin. They're vital nowadays. In modern Tetris, they are vital for getting good scores. So you want to get your T-spin doubles is what you want to get in. Okay, that's important. You want to do an early setup. Don't worry about all clears. Right, they're not great at the start, especially competitive Tetris. What you want to go for is you want to set up to start with a T-spin triple double, right? Which is you go in, you set up a space for a T-spin triple, which means it clears 3 lines, as well as a T-spin double, which clears 2 lines. You go down, you do your T-spin double to get rid of 2, and then that sets you up for your T-spin triple. You put your next T-piece in, and you drop it down a couple of times, and that gets into your triple space. You've got to know those. But there's also S spins and there's Z spins. They're the little S and Z pieces that go into little bits. They'll get a single line clear, but they're worth some extra points. But your combos are important as well. So if you're concentrating on just your Tetris lines, good. Well done. It's a good starting place. You've got to learn your spins and your combos.
Right. Well, I heard T-spin. And then that was it.
And then words.
It was just blah, blah, blah. But yeah, no, I can't. I get what you mean. Yeah,
that's your next level. Once you're comfortable, what you need to do is you get comfortable with your speed. Like, can I get just line clears? Then you go, right, can I get rid of single? I don't want single line clears. That's what you want to get rid of. Single line clears are pointless. Once you've basically outlawed those in your own game and you're getting at least doubles all the time at minimum, and you could do that at high speed, then you want to just basically, what's a T-spin? How do I know to set one up? And then concentrate on doing that, and then you build like that. And then basically, you're building your knowledge, and then you're clearing it to do your next bit of knowledge. Just like Tetris.
Yeah, you've definitely...
Tetris is an allegory for life.
It is. You've definitely been playing this game far too long. I think that's what the takeaway is.
30 years of Tetris.
Yeah, too long.
And I'm not good at it. I'm not going to lie, I'm not good at it.
Well, yeah, you are good at it.
Well, I'm better than most, but I'm not good at it when you see other people. I'd never win a competition.
I know I'm judging myself against other people. It never turns out well.
No, I know.
So... before this becomes the Tetris cast, which it is very much in danger of doing week on week, what have you been playing this week?
Not Tetris, actually.
Whoa.
It's been the first week for a while. I've not actually touched Tetris. So I've been playing 2 games. One of them has become Digital Crack, and I'm going to talk about that one in a minute. But another one that I got given a review code for, and it's called Wolfstride, and it's on PC. And Wolfstride is... how to describe Wolfstride? It's like it's not really a deck builder, but there's some influences from deck building in it to a degree. But it's an action combat, turn-based strategy, anime mecha game, RPG as well.
Okay.
So that's obviously a lot to unwrap there. But essentially what you've got is you play this character who is like ex-Yakuza, I think he is in it, and he's got a couple of friends, and he's left the Yakuza, and for whatever reason, story reasons, he gets given this rundown, trashy mech that he needs to try and build up and enter into competitions to earn money, and then like progress the story for story reasons and stuff like that. Again, I'm not going to describe the story because I can't describe any of the story without actually ruining anything from an early part. But basically, He needs to earn money. You enter mech battles to do this. And it's like the mech battle side of it is really good. You go in, it's turn-based, and you kind of like, you go into it with a loadout, and it's like, when I say it's deck building, you can pre-choose your loadout based on things, and it's like it's laid out almost like they're cards, but they're not. They're just actions you can choose and do stuff in. And what's really good, it's not just you target the mech, it's 1v1, and what you do is you target areas of the mech, so you can target like its arms, its head, and torso, and stuff like that. And what you target, what you get rid of, can really affect the flow of a fight. So you could be up against a mech who's got like a really good arm cannon, for example, does lots of damage with his arm cannon, but is weak everywhere else. So you take out that arm cannon and focus everything on getting rid of that, and then he just becomes like a sitting duck for you. But at the same time, your loadout has positives and negatives all over. So if they're doing damage to certain areas of yours, you get weakened in other ways. But what I found in it is you can also sort of set it up that if they weaken one part of you, you get stronger elsewhere and stuff like that. So lots of nuances and tactics within the actual battles themselves. But here's the thing. I went into this game expecting it to be just like lots and lots of battles and like just like a little bit of like story stuff to hold it all together. A bit like Ironcast, which is like a mech match 3 game, which is really good, by the way.
Yeah.
I expect it to be like that. But it's not. It's more like, I would liken it to Persona 5 Strikers, which takes an existing game mechanic. So Persona 5 Strikers takes the Musu games, the Warriors games.
Yeah, I know.
Takes that gameplay, and you go, oh yeah, I'm like that with like a Persona skin. But actually, it's more of a Persona game with some Musu fight like battles thrown in. This is similar. It's very much a story-driven RPG with an emphasis on the story RPG. There's loads of story. It's immature as hell, by the way, but it works. Immature, absolutely as hell. But first 2 to 3 hours, I think I must have done like just a couple, 3-4 battles in the first couple of hours.
Yeah.
Really interesting, and it's like visual-wise, it's definitely like a Japanese a Japanese graphic novel. So it's like black and white aesthetic of like the Deathloop books. And yeah, just really, really good. There's loads of little mini games you could do in there. And not like mini games, like annoying ones, but just loads of little things you could do to earn extra money to help you get the bits for your mech. But there is this one, like you can practice these battles as well by doing them, like playing. It goes like very meta, I suppose, where you can sort of go into it and play the game within a game. So it's like you go and do like a video game version of the actual mech battles to practice, and you can get a battle pass for it. But you have to use, obviously, there's no actual like monetization, but it's in-game stuff that you earn like within the game. But you can buy a battle pass for the in-game practice scenes, which I think is like really good, hilarious commentary on sort of like modern gaming at the same time. But yeah, really good game, not perfect. A couple of little bits they could trim the fat off and stuff like that, maybe streamline it a tad. But aside from that, despite wanting the one thing, despite wanting the mechanics, the battle, I wasn't put off by the story, and usually I could be turned off by that. Mind wanders. No, engaged me, really engaging story, fully voice acted, thumbs up for that. And yeah, really, really, really interesting game that's, I think, came out Tuesday just gone, but on Steam only at the moment. Definitely give it a look though if you get a chance.
All right, yeah. Do you know who the developer is? Is it anyone famous, or is it a small studio or something?
Right, it's published by Raw Fury. So when we're talking about crappy publishers, Raw Fury are the good guys. I have to say that they are one of the good guys. So developing part is Otter Imon Studios. I've never heard of them before, but that's not to say it's just that they're out of my genre. But according to this, they've only ever done Wolfstride. This is their debut. But who knows what experience they've got at other studios or anything. Other people might know more, but this seems like a debut title for them.
Excellent. Yeah, no, I'll check some videos out, see what I think.
Yeah, definitely. It's if you don't like RPGs and turn-based games, then this isn't going to go, oh yeah, I'm definitely going to get into this now. That's the one thing I will say about it. It's not doing anything new, or it's definitely not for sort of people who just go, maybe. It's definitely people who like those sort of games.
Yeah, I always very, very dependent for me.
Yes.
The odd RPG and the odd tactical RPG will just set me on fire, and I absolutely love them. But that's pretty far and few and far between. But yeah, I'll check it out. I'll give it the eye, see what I think. I still really wish that I'd. Well, I'll talk about that later. But anyway, yeah, no, it's really a genre that when they nail it, they really nail it. So, last question, just a very brief one. What's the viewpoint? Is it side on? Is it 3D? Is it first person? Is it isometric? Or what sort of?
It's a very, very good shout. So the RPG stuff goes from like almost as though it's like a full-on graphic novel, but then it switches to like this like pixelated type bits for other areas, and then the battle parts themselves again they've got some 3D side-on animations and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's like, I mean, the only thing I can say, it is like a living, breathing graphic novel. Yeah, that's all I can say really. It sort of kind of mixes and matches bits, but yeah, the last thing I read, I mean, I've read sort of like Tokyo Ghoul and Death Note, and that's what it reminds me of. It's got the monochrome aesthetic to it, and it just looks like a manga graphic novel come to life.
Very cool. Yeah, it sounds a little reminiscent of that 13 Sentinels that I played on PS4, which is by Vanillaware, but that was definitely leaning more into the graphic novel, kind of, visual novel style. So I kind of bounced off it. I always think I might get back into it, but I don't know. They're not visual novels really aren't my kind of thing. I struggle a lot with them. But
yeah, no,
Wolfstride doesn't sound like that.
No, it's good. I mean, I'm not finished it. I'm not going to pretend I've finished it, or I'm even like most of the way through or anything like that. I'm taking my time, but it's one of those that I can see because of the colour palette being monochrome and the way it's done. I can see that quite well, so it's one I like dipping in and out of. But Raw Fury, honestly, they've got such a good track record at the moment of, I think, game again, big tier games that are just like sort of really fun to play. You know, they've done Per Aspera, which was was decent. They've done things like Goner, Kingdoms 2 Crowns. They've been on those. They've done Nightcall, which I thought was a really good game. I think they published Sable as well, so they've got a really good library of different games. They haven't put themselves into a niche. I would say they're the non-floated version of Devolver Digital.
Ah, right, yeah, okay. Definitely worth following them as a publisher then. Cool.
Yes. Oh, yeah, definitely. They've got such a good library.
Nice.
And that should get me some more games in the future. Yeah.
Yeah. Winning.
Yeah. It's the only reason I do any of this.
Too right. Free games.
I mean, don't print this, but I think all their games are rubbish. No, I don't. I'm joking. We don't print anything. Why did I say print? I don't know. Stu, save me. Talk about another game.
Well, I've only got one more. It's only a tiny, tiny little one, and it's called Halo Infinite. So, yeah.
Indie?
Quite a big... Yeah, a big indie. Let's call it a big indie.
That's why I've never heard of it.
No. So, it's really weird when you're thinking about the Halo series. You know, it's like, you look at Bungie and they're kind of stuck doing Destiny 2 and the Destiny series, and is that really where they wanted to go? Are they happy doing it? Who knows? And you've got 343 who have taken up the reins, and it's like, are they being allowed to do what they want, and how much are they controlled by Microsoft, and do Microsoft know what they want out of the game? And these aren't really my thoughts. These are the sort of expectations that have been on them for years.
Yeah.
But it's especially since like Halo 5 was not that well received. I mean,
I like the multiplayer in that.
Yeah, it's really difficult to sort of judge on that game. How to call it really, because it sold tons, and this game Infinite is selling tons, and people loved the multiplayer in Halo 5. People liked playing it in co-op in Halo 5. It made a lot of money. It looked beautiful. So where's the beef? What's the criticism? Where's the complaint? And it's really only the complaint that people didn't like the single player very much. But if you go back and play it, which I've played it fairly recently, I again think it's a good game. Do I think they needed to change it for Halo Infinite? Yes, but then I like progress. I don't like things to just stick, and get stuck in one rut. And
yeah,
so far with Halo Infinite, it's doing a juggling act, is what I'd describe it as doing. In that it obviously has to make progress in some ways, otherwise it's just, you might as well go back and play Halo CE. But in other ways, it's very backward looking. It looks at the original game, and the original game as the main and really only inspiration. And so it's got those two things going on. And that's both its greatest strength and its, so far, from what I've played, its greatest weakness. But the fact that there's, it feels like the original game that everybody loved is not much of a criticism. Because as a first-person shooter, which is what counts, it's really excellent. And it does everything really, really well so far. And it adds a few new things into it that really, really amp up the gameplay. So there's so many takes out there and there's so many reviews. I won't go into a massive load of detail on it, and it's more about how I feel personally, because I think that's the only thing that's going to be different from what any other people say.
Yeah.
So the things...
Yeah, no one's coming here to hear a repeat of everything else. So
yeah, well, hopefully not. So so the two big things are, well, there's the size of the open world bits, and they're kind of a little bit kind of latter Far Cry style, and earlier sort of looking at Crysis, in that it's not really an open world, not even in the way that Breath of the Wild is an open world. It's more like instanced areas, small areas that are fairly well funneled, but you don't have to go down the critical path the entire time, which is nice. It's nice. I like games that are like that. I'm not a big fan of massive open world games. But it just gives you that variety of like, oh, what's over here? So, yeah, it's good. It's got that variety of space. It's also got the grappling hook, which is like a huge big deal, because people were on the fence about whether sprinting was necessary or fit in with the Halo gameplay when that started getting introduced.
Yeah.
People are still divided about it, but I don't think anyone's divided about the grappling hook. It's really excellent. It's not just a win button for a start, because the enemies have kind of adapted to adjust to that kind of thing being in the game, and it's got cooldown and it's got limits to it. It's when you've got the deliberately low gravity that Halo has, which is one of the great things about the game, because it makes it feel like proper sci-fi. Having that thing to zip you in a straight line fast is great. I think it's a really good addition. So it's very sort of classic in inverted commas at the moment. It follows a classical mould of Halo, but it has a couple of new quirks that make it really quite unique in its own way. I'm not far enough into it to say whether it's going to be one of my favourites, but on current evidence, it's right up there, which is great to see.
Yeah, it's. Halo is a really interesting series. I remember I loved one. We often hear games talked about as system sellers. I don't think we've ever had anything as close to an actual system seller as Halo.
Yeah.
Because this was Microsoft entering the gaming market. They had no right, and that sold the system. I don't think a particular single game sold the PlayStation, for example, when they came in brand new. I don't think a single game sold the Mega Drive or the SNES or anything like that. They had good games with them that everyone wanted. But when Microsoft came into the party, PlayStation was so established. That was the time you just go, look, all other pretenders have failed. The CDI failed, the 3DO failed, the Jaguar failed, and things like that. Then it comes to Microsoft, and Halo sold that system. And I remember playing that, loving it, every moment of it. The second game, I look back and go, I must have loved that. I completed it, but I mainly cared for the... used to go around a friend's house, or a work friend's house, and we used to play that into the early hours, few drinks, stuff like that. Really great fun times. And then I kind of bounced off a little bit after that, because I sort of moved away and was trying to play Halo 3, ODST, stuff like that, all on their own. Completely bounced off 4, got back into it with 5. And like a lot of people, I think there was some issues with the single player, but I thought the shooting mechanics, every Halo game shooting mechanics have been sound. You could never level that issue with it.
Yeah.
But the only way I could like it, I didn't want to use a football analogy, but I can't think of another football analogy. But when 3-4-3 came in, it was like they're being the first manager to try and take over Man United after Alex Ferguson left.
Yeah.
They've got no chance. But what I'm hoping now I think they showed it a bit with 5, honestly. The multiplayer with 5, I really enjoyed. A lot of people really enjoyed that. But I'm hoping this is their moment now. They're finally showing, no, look, Halo's ours now. This is what we're doing with Halo.
Yeah, which is a great statement to make.
Yeah.
And one thing that I've always been really impressed with them by is their visual sense. I really love their designs. Everything that they've added to the whole ethos and to the whole universe of Halo, I think, has been really good. And visually, at least, I know it's debatable in other areas, but visually, I think it's been fabulous. And yeah, I think that they've translated the original game as well as they can to make people feel happy. I'm a little less bothered about it than I would normally be, because normally I would be like, look, please move forward, stop just redoing stuff. One of the reasons I always refer back to Resident Evil, because I always refer back to Capcom in some way, but one of the great things about that was, they did a set of games that was in one perspective and style, then they moved on to another one, which was, obviously the third person behind the shoulder, and then they moved on to first person, and they've kept the essence, but they've kept evolving, so that you're not just buying the same game over and over again. And luckily with this, because there hasn't been a game like Halo CE since Halo CE, you can do a sequel to it. This is like Halo CE 2 almost.
Yeah.
And, it's got new stuff in it, but Halo CE 2 would have.
Yeah, this is them doing a Halloween, isn't it? And retconning everything by the original, in a way.
It's very, very much in the 2020s style of stuff, which is, if you want to, you're allowed to forget other stuff existed and just do something that steals the best parts of it, which is absolutely fine. And as I say, it's not been done to death. It certainly hasn't. And yeah, there are things that I really, really would like to see in it that aren't there at the moment, but I'm not going to talk about them yet because they might appear. It's unlikely, but they might. So we'll talk about it in several weeks' time, and I'll see what my final verdict is. But my current verdict is it's really, really good. It's not Game of the Year, but it's good. Very, very good.
Yeah, no, and that's everything I've heard. I'm kind of holding off until I can see properly to be able to play it, because I don't want to kind of like bungle my way through it. Again, I've heard people say the story's complete bobbins. Fine, it's Halo.
I don't bother with the story. It's just man versus aliens, and that's enough for me.
I'm a Master Chief, and I'm shooting aliens, for any reason. Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah, for reasons. That's all you need to know.
Yeah. But no, I'm absolutely. What I can't wait to try is the grappling hook, as you mentioned, because I think still one of the freshest multiplayer shooters, definitely the best single player shooter of the last decade, is Titanfall 2.
Yep.
And the reason that is, a lot of people have different reasons. I mean, it's got some excellent writing to it, and the level design's amazing, but the inertia in that game, the movement, just feels so natural. It's so fluid. You constantly feel like you're doing something, even when you're not. And if Halo can bring a bit of that about it, they're on the right tracks.
Yeah, it definitely does. They nail the gravity situation in it. In that, it has inertia, so if you're travelling in one direction at one speed, it will maintain that for a certain amount of time that's consistent with the gravity of Halo. And so it's not just like, suddenly you're zipping around and then you stop dead. They've got the momentum part of it correct as well, and just being able to fit that in an area where, when you like with shooters, it's normally like, we'll mix up the enemies and we'll mix up the weapons, and then we'll look at different environments. But actually adding something that's right at the core of the physics isn't really something that's added very often to these things late in the series. So I'm really impressed. The only thing I'll say to finish is, on PC there are no game-breaking bugs, but there are a lot of bugs. There's audio bugs, there's clipping issues, there's like floaty physics with characters getting stuck in weird places. None of it game-breaking, but
PC for you.
It's a bit sloppy, and it's one of those things you just know if they hadn't been given such a hard release date, that it's not a Cyberpunk 2077 situation where they needed another 3 years, but another 3 months, and even these tiny things would have gone. So it feels like an incomplete game from that perspective, which that's anathema to 343. Like I know Master Chief Collection needed a lot of work, but that was a different thing. Like, Halos 4 and 5 came out of the gate as complete experiences, and this isn't really quite there with that. So that's definitely on Microsoft. But it's one to watch out for if you're on PC.
So, I mean, when you say that, you said it's nothing game-breaking. And again, do we know if this is like a PC-only thing, or is it the same on console? Do we know? Or
I don't know. I don't know whether they have the clipping issues, like audio and visual clipping issues, that are on PC. I would guess that they probably are, because I think the code is pretty much the same.
They have bought Bethesda, so clipping issues and stuff like that are part of the course now.
That's built in, that's baked into the experience.
But no, it's. Do they get away with it because it's on Game Pass Ultimate? That's the thing. How much rope do you start to give Microsoft? That's going to be the big one. If they start getting worse, then they've got to be called out for it. But they gave him an extra year, which I think is really good. I don't think they could have. In their defence, I don't think they could have missed holidays. That would have been a disaster for them. And I think the fact that we're coming in, Call of Duty's crap, Battlefield's crap at the moment. There's no other big shooters coming out. Halo had to come out. And I wonder, I think what they're going to do, it's a live service. I'm okay with a live service if it's done in this way, with it being part of Game Pass. I'm okay with that to a degree. I think we'll be seeing this supported for at least the next 5 years of new content. I think we'll get yearly content drops that proceed the story further. I don't think we'll ever get like a Halo 7. I think this is called Halo Infinite for a reason. Yes,
it's one of those that they'll eventually do a Halo 7,
I mean, they said they was ever going to do a Windows 11, so...
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those that it doesn't happen until it does, but it's good optics for them to say, oh, it's infinite, it's never going to change.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you can't never say never,
Well, precisely, but the main reason that you immediately know that's not true is because it's very, very hobbled by having to run on the original Xbox One.
Yeah.
And you can really see that because the graphics are not very good. I mean, they're good and they're not good. In that, I would say that Destiny 1, because I'm going to keep comparing them to Bungie, I bet they love that. Destiny...
Luckily they didn't send us any code so we can say what we want.
Exactly. And will. But yeah, no, it's...
we do anyway. In case anyone goes, I'll say again, they're bull. We do anyway.
Yeah. But I'd say that it looks on a par with Destiny 1, graphically.
Fine.
Which is a very old game from a previous generation. It looks like a previous generation game. You know me, I'm not really that arsed about graphics. When me and you talk about games, we occasionally go, I think we've said everything that we need to about that. Oh, yeah, graphics. It's always the last thing on our list. It's always the least important.
How does it look compared to Operation Wolf on the Spectrum?
It's about comparable, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But
whenever my son talks about games, the graphics on this car games, I'm like, mate, let's boot up Turbo Spree Challenge, shall we? And that blew my mind away.
Oh, mine. Yeah. I don't even bother talking about it, and I wouldn't, other than when you look at Halo 4, it's doing some absolute amazing trickery to get such amazing, so like really immersive things, like great depth of field, some clever use of motion blur, some of the screen space reflections, the bloom.
Yeah.
It does loads of clever things to make it feel very sci-fi, very distant, alien, futuristic. And the only problem is if you don't keep up with that graphical arms race, you don't teach people new visual experiences.
No.
There's an aesthetic that they built up in Destiny, and there's an aesthetic that they built up in Halo 4 that was using, a lot of clever tricks that I think they've not really been able to do with Halo Infinite, mainly because I think the engine is based off of their old engine, and that's from not from the previous generation. It was from the generation before that. It was PS3 and 360, and it's kind of like, on an aesthetic level, it can't really push certain things, so it looks like lots of stuff you've seen before, if you see what I mean. And yeah, so it's not really criticising the kind of the power and the grunt and you should be pushing all the shinies, more like you're not really able to, with that engine, produce something that I've never seen before, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, no, totally get that.
But I think they were kind of in a rock and a hard place situation, because everyone was like, we want it to look like the original game, and it's like, well, all right, here you are then. And it's very clean, it's very Halo, it's very much like the first level of Halo, it's not very, no, there you go. You can't have them all, you can't have it all.
No. So when I was a graphic designer before I lost my eyes, I'm going to make this sound like, cyberpunk it up.
Oh, yeah.
Future cyber. Not cyberpunk the game, just future cyberpunk stuff. Like not the game cyberpunk, the generalisation of cyberpunk.
Yes.
But before I lost my eyes, one of the things that we always done in graphic design was you do a logo, whatever you're doing, and then to see if it works well, you first of all, you go, does it work inversed? Does it work black and white? And then finally you blur the buggery out of it, and can you still recognise that logo? Then you've done a good logo. gaming, I think, needs to follow the same suit. And I'm going to call it, I'm going to coin another U-term. Okay? We're going to have the Thomas was alone effect. Yeah. If you could drill your game down to just blocks and it still maintains the mechanics and the fun that you're intending for, you're on the right lines. If, however, you can't reduce those graphics to just like squares and triangles and geometric shapes or whatever that are just really flat without all the bells and whistles, have a little think about your game's mechanics. Have a little bit of think about what your aim is.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fair. Yeah, I know, and they've got. I think
I like you, Mike Biffle.
I think they've followed that 3-4-3. I think you could do that thing with Infinite of going, like you said, doing it in verse, do it in monochrome, do it however you like, and it would still, you go, oh god, yeah, that's demonstrably Halo.
Yes.
And that's what you want. You do want that. And yeah, we've got to finish on a positive, because not just, I've got to grasp at a positive, not at all. It's a really good game. It's a really good game. If you like Halo already, you're going to love it. If you weren't sold on Halo before, there's enough in it, I think, that will bring more people towards it. And I think, like you said, it's going to get a lot of content. It's going to go for a lot of years. And I think it's going to get a really big single-player experience. I think they are, ironically, going to steal Bungie's thing of, we're going to release these big DLC packs that are essentially another game, like they did with Destiny. And I'm all for that. So there you go.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So on the opposite side of that, we've been going round in a bit of a loop with Halo. So why not carry on the theme? I've been playing Loop Hero on the Switch this time.
Very nice.
Yes. So I got this originally on the PC when it first came out. I don't know if it came out this year or last year. My mind, again, 2020's been a long year. I'm looking forward to 2021. Ooh,
I know.
2021's going to be a good year, surely.
Hopefully, yeah. Oh, God, I don't know.
But anyway, played... I got Loop Hero, bounced off it a couple of times. It's got really good mechanics. So basically, the idea is it's a roguelite. You go around in this loop, and it's like an auto player. So you go in, you fight monsters, or whatever your stats are, decide whether you beat the monsters, and you go round, and you continue doing the same loop. But every monster you beat drops resources. So you get like new weapons, armor, like the thing like wearing a ring gives you stuff, and like basically gives you all stat boosts and everything. But you also get cards, and you put cards down to either introduce new enemies to battle or to give you buffs and debuffs. So like if you put like on like one of them, like put like rocks and mountains together on the game board, then you get like HP boosts and stuff like that, and it's like +2 for every rock you put down, but you get like 5 if you put them adjacent to each other, and all stuff like that. So you have to really think about placement of tiles on this on the game. But you go around on this continuous loop fighting monsters, and you decide, right, do I want to leave? If you leave anywhere on the board, you bring like 60% of the resources you've collected back to your main base. If you die, you only get 30%, but if you get to a campfire and leave, you get to bring everything back. And then you use the resources at your base to build your base up and get extra buffs and like bonuses before you go in, and you repeat, rinse and repeat. I say it's an auto player, so it just goes off on its own until you die. But what you do is you get a planning stage. So after every monster it's beaten, it stops and it pauses, goes to a planning stage. You can swap out bits, add new cards, that sort of thing. And it sounds complicated. And when I first saw it, it was like, oh my God, I'm not going to get this at all. Playing it, once you've played it, it makes sense. You get into it. It's really good. It's really good. Gameplay loop, if you excuse the pun. But yeah, really good. It's what I call a good TV game on the Switch, because it's slow and methodical. So, like, you can sit and watch a bit of TV. You go, oh, beat a monster. What am I doing? Do this. Look up at the TV again, and it goes on. You can play it without concentrating, but you can also concentrate fully on the game. And, yeah, it's just become pure digital crack.
So is it completable? Can you actually finish it, or is it just...
I believe so, yeah.
Oh, right, cool.
Yeah, it's got like a tech tree kind of thing going on, like in the base, like when you're sort of like not doing the loops. It's got a base building type thing where you start off with a campfire, you then had a kitchen, villagers, a library, etc., etc. But it's all different classes, so I suppose it's completable in the way that like Slay the Spire is completable. And then you just push on further and further and test yourself against harder and harder like enemies and stuff like that. But yeah, just a really, really good, solid game. It's another one of those where I could turn it on while like, oh, I don't want to watch this. This is half hour of crap that the like Lo wants to watch or the kids want to watch. So I'm going to boot up Loop Hero for half an hour and then turn it off and play something else or watch whatever he was going to watch and stuff like that. It's just honestly, it's a really, really good time waster in the best possible way.
Oh, very cool. Well, I mean, that's kind of calling Tetris just a time waster is probably not fair, but I use it like that in the same way. That's a great experience for the Switch, and I'm very much considering, when I get my Steam Deck, if I ever do, I'm very much considering leaving stuff like, what's it called, Wolfstride, the one that you were playing before.
Yeah.
And things like that, leaving it for that, because I think it would be the perfect marriage of function and game, So, yeah.
So, without being that person, Loop Hero is perfect for the Switch.
Yeah.
I've got it on PC, and a lot of people have said, "Oh, it's great to have on PC because you put it in a smaller window and you dip in and out of it as you're doing other stuff." I couldn't do it. I got too distracted.
Yeah.
By either that or what I needed to do. So I was never enough. But on the Switch, yeah, it's perfect for that, as are so many games. I've also got preloaded, ready to go, Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon, because it's Shovel Knight puzzles. I can't wait.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. This is why, Steam Deck is so exciting, is that the best platform, inarguably, for the range of indie games is the PC.
Yes.
The best platform for playing those indie games is indisputably the Switch.
Yes.
So when merging the two together is an absolute genius move, and it's one of those that I hope I've heard a lot of people say, oh, well, the Steam Deck is not designed to or is going to sell to people who don't already understand PC gaming. It's like, okay, well, I can accept that and understand it, but if it's a hit and sells out within its niche, then other companies will start going, right, well, we've got to be in on this. And then they will start producing things that are a more tailored and less PC experience, but are kind of more towards the PC side than they are towards the Nintendo side of things. So I think it's going to be a real game changer.
Oh, I'm with you 100%. I've got so many games that I wish were on Switch that aren't on Switch, such as Noita. Is it Noita? Whatever it's called.
I have no idea, but yeah, that's
a perfect handheld game, but the Switch can't
run it.
Even come close to running it because of all the voxels and everything and the physics behind it all.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's perfect for the Steam Deck.
Yeah,
that's going to be a you saying, isn't it?
It is. We're going to coin it.
Yeah, and one, we'll to be talking about potential games of the year on there at some point because of how good they run on the Steam Deck. So,
yep.
Talking of games of the year,
nice.
That's a tenuous story, but I know.
Oh, I don't know. I thought it was quite good.
Yeah. It's just I realised, bloody hell, we've been banging on, and we're meant to do a weekly game of the year category.
Us banging on? What are you on about?
Yeah. So hit me.
I would if I could, but I will go through the games of the year thing. So the first one, as you know, last week we were doing this, and we picked a couple of categories at random, and before we came on, I picked a couple at random again.
Yep.
And they are. Let me have a look. Very professional. Yeah. So the first one I grabbed out was best hardware, which is a good question because I don't think either of us have bought any sort of major hardware this year. So it's a good one of going, what do we think from the outside is the best hardware?
Oh. No, I'll tell you what I'm going to say. I'm going to say the Xbox as a whole. Because, again, I think we spoke about it earlier, but it comes down purely to Microsoft's strategy of, do you want to play our games? Okay, then. I could play a first-party Microsoft game on my phone, on a tablet, on my PC, on an Xbox One, on an Xbox Series S, on an Xbox Series X. It really does not matter. So if we're talking hardware and accessibility to games, yeah, it's Microsoft.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that there's a lot of trouble with, like, normally the PC is my winner.
Yeah.
But there's loads of reasons why it's not this year. Unavailability of graphics cards, things not being optimized for them very well, not enough adoption of DLSS, not enough sort of streamlining the ray tracing that you can do, too much focus on the console experience. There's lots of stuff that it's still brilliant, but it's not being maximized at the moment. It really isn't. I would say the PS5 for being able to stream stuff in so fast in a way that I'm not sure if I've started doing that on Series X in quite the same way. But I agree with you. I think that by far and away you can play the widest number of games on it for a console. Although that's, competing with the Switch, because the Switch has every single indie game ever made on it. But
yeah, it's also the Switch is going down that route that Steam went down a little bit, where there's a lot of crap, just a lot of
garbage. Yeah. And I think it's a bit more curated on Game Pass.
Yeah,
obviously it's a paid for service, so yeah.
But yeah, know. If you've played 12 minutes, you might not think that.
Fair enough. But yeah. In goodwill terms, I think that it's got that. Microsoft have got the most powerful console out there, and they've got access to, not necessarily the best games, but probably still, as many good games as the PS5 in terms of exclusives. But it's much more accessible to everybody, and I like the look of the machine as well.
I could play, if they was to release I could play Forza Horizon 5. That's their big flagship. I could play that now on any system anything I've got in this property at the moment. I couldn't play Gran Turismo 7 if that released tomorrow.
Yes.
That's how I look at it. And that's how I look at games now. I want a PlayStation 5, don't get me wrong. I'm a video game enthusiast, because I'm not going to use the EG word. I want a PlayStation 5. I've not got anything against Sony. I think they've given me some of the best experiences I've ever had in my life as a gamer. I did it as a gamer. And I will get one. But as I said, I also want my games now to be, I want to sit down and play them. Where can I play them? And when you tell me, right, you can play it anywhere, or you've got to be in this specific situation, I'm going to take the anywhere option every day of the week.
Yes, absolutely. I think
add cross save to everything.
Yes, I know. I think we're the only thing I'll say with that is that's slightly crossing over to like best publisher, really, rather than, it is part of their hardware strategy in that you can play stuff on any of their hardware, but I think that's less of a technical decision and more of a political one. In terms of the actual physical machine itself, I think for your reasons, plus it also being the most powerful, I think I'd say, probably Series X.
Okay, well, I was going to say Xbox One. Because that's what I've got.
Yeah, I haven't got a Series X either, but, bestow the plaudits where ye may. I don't know, I might have been swung if I'd seen the Switch OLED version, but I haven't seen that either, so...
No, nor have I, and I've got... It's a tough one. I've got no need for one. I want one, because I'm like a bloody... What are they? Crow? Not crows. Magpie. I'm like a bloody magpie for shiny new things.
Oh, yeah.
So I want one. Same as I want the top-end Steam Deck. I'm not going to get a top-end Steam Deck. I'm still trying to wonder how the hell I'm going to afford a low-end Steam Deck. So listen, Valve, if you want to delay it another couple of months, go ahead. I'm not going to complain.
Yeah.
I want a 3080. I know I can't get one. I want a PlayStation 5. I can't get one. My son's got a Series S because you could get those. We haven't got a Series X yet, but I can play Series X games. It's an interesting world we live in. And if Microsoft could, trust me, they would do a way for you to be able to play those on a Switch, on a PlayStation 5, on a bloody Dreamcast, if they found out they could do it. But if they found out they'd make more money by shuttering all that off completely, they'd also do that as well because they're a corporation.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, shouldn't spend too long complimenting any corporation because
they're not your friend.
You're not your friends. Yeah, precisely. Yeah.
Apart from my mate Phil.
Oh yeah. Everyone likes Phil.
Actually, Mizuguchi, he's my friend. He liked me on Twitter.
Yeah, good lad. He's a good lad. Yeah, solid. He's no Cockney Miyamoto, but he'll do.
Droplets effect, please, Mr. Mizuguchi. Droplets effect.
Every week. Anyway, the next category that I'm going to go for is most disappointing game of the year. So what was perhaps hyped up or that you personally were looking forward to the most that didn't live up to your expectations?
All right. Are we talking just games? Are we ignoring the fact at the moment that we are not going to talk about publishers and the storms? We're talking just game.
Yes.
Here at the moment.
Just games, yeah.
See, I don't get overly disappointed by much. In case you haven't in case you couldn't tell.
True. True.
I don't want to say it. There's two. One is 12 minutes, as already mentioned. I don't think it's as bad as some people made out, but I've been looking forward to that game for 6 years, 7 years maybe. I can't remember when it was first announced or when I first saw them on a Giant Bomb thing. And it's, I've been looking forward to that. I think it does a lot right, but it's just that long in development, it gets so much wrong as well. It reached, it reached for the stars. It barely got out the sweet shop. It's a tough one. It went for it and didn't stick it. It is a real shame. And the other one, this hurts me. I've played more of it, and again, doesn't deserve the hate that it's got off many people. But Skatebird, again, I really wanted that to be something, and it's good. It's a good casual fun game that I've had fun with, but I've not gone back to it for a long time, and I've got no desire to. I think Megan Fox is passionate, and it's definitely a passion project, and there's so much love being poured into that game. Too much hype, and it just didn't live up to it, unfortunately. They are the two, and it pains me to say it.
Well, it's funny, isn't it? Because, you kind of associate hype. Well, I do. I might be alone in this, but kind of associate hype with paid for hype, and therefore I get a bit cynical about it. But
yeah,
with Skatebird, I haven't played it, but you feel like it was positive hype in a way. It was like, oh wow, people in the indie scene were like, this is going to be really good, and this is why. And that it was disappointing made it disappointing for everybody, if that makes sense. Yeah, no, definitely. And I say I like Megan. I think they are a wonderful developer. They're always positive on Twitter. They've been very open, even with the negative feedback. They were very positive with, okay, we'll take that on board. And I said it was a passion project, and I'm so happy that it came out. And it's not a bad game. It's not a bad game. There's fun to be had if you look at it for what it is, which is a passion project, a bit of fun. It's my own fault. Honestly, it is my own fault. And I'd give it a pass because I would turn around and go, the latest Battlefield was disappointing. The latest Call of Duty was. I've not played them. I've not played the latest Far Cry. I'm not going to touch them. Unfortunately, because I've been playing so many indies, and they are the two I really looked forward to. Yeah. No, that's fair. I think that from what I've read about 12 minutes, it sounds that, well, I mean, you kind of get on the hype train because it doesn't have big actors in it, and
it's got James McAvoy. That's his stunt double.
Yeah.
And Daisy Ridley, Willem Dafoe, a couple of other names that I can't think of on the top of my head.
Yeah. So you kind of think, well, they wouldn't sign up for it unless it was, a good script and stuff. But
well, Kevin Spacey done Call of Duty, so
if the money truck's parked up close enough to the house, then yeah. Disappointing though, like you say. That it wasn't better, but yeah. Well,
What about you?
For me, there weren't very many that I was particularly disappointed in, but there was one really, really notable one, and one that goes against the grain a little bit. The one that goes against the grain a little bit was The Ascent, which I thought had some really good ideas, and it looked really good, and ultimately was just an extremely basic game that I'd played a billion times before, shoved into a sort of fresh sausage skin, really. It's how I felt about it, which might not be particularly fair, but it's just that was a personal disappointment. It might have got better if I'd stuck with it a bit longer, but
I'm gonna die on this hill. It's a bloody good game.
Well, there you go.
I'm gonna die on that hill.
Yeah, there you are. These things are often very personal. Yeah, very.
I just really got it. Is it because it has some amazing accessibility options, and it was one of the games I could play as it was intended because of the accessibility options? Possibly, but I will die on that hill for Ascent.
Well, we all do, don't we? Yeah. If something goes towards something that we want or need, then we'll overlook the flaws. Not that I'm saying that's what you're doing.
There aren't any.
Yeah, but I could just as well be completely wrong about it. I should probably replay it a little bit and just see what I think. But
you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I think I'm very much in the minority for it, but I'm happy to be there.
Well, I think it had really good scores. I'm not sure how well it sold, but it certainly seemed to do well with the critics. But yeah, I'm glad for them that it did.
I'm going to have a quick gander on, see what his Steam reviews are.
Worth it, yeah. Especially looking at the most recent ones.
Yeah, very positive and mostly positive. So I've heard. I mean, maybe it's because of like the closed bubble of like forums I use that it just got such a negative impact on there that I'm assuming that was the case for most people. But yeah, no, it's got okay, fair enough. It's got some good review scores. I don't know what its Metacritic was. Maybe I'm not in the minority then. I just assumed I was. I thought I was like that one person that goes, no, Boris is okay in a Labour conference.
Yeah.
He's all right.
It's funny with these Metacritic things, not just Metacritic itself, but they've got it at 68 on the publisher's reviewer score and 7.8 on the user score, which is very high. So,
based on the first-hand reports I've heard from people talking about it, you'd think it was like trash. I mean, I love it. I mean, we don't do scores, but I'd be putting it in like the around the 7.5 to 8.5 category for me.
Yeah,
it's not perfect. I know it's not perfect, but there's so much about it I like. Maybe it's because it is simple, and that's what I like. Sometimes I want a game that's just simple.
Yeah. I mean, the trigger with me is more traversal than is necessary, or if not necessary, but than I like. If there's a lot of walking around, I get very bored.
Yeah.
And that's not on the game, really. That's on me.
But it does have a button that you can shoot over people's heads with.
Yeah.
So, tell me another game that has a shoot over someone's head button.
Yeah, I did like that. That was very clever. Yeah. But I mean, the big
game of the year,
the big disappointment. The Ascent wasn't that big a disappointment for me. Just a minor thing.
We wish you never mentioned it now.
No. It's good to get the different opinions, and as I say, I think mine's probably a bit skew with. But where I don't think it is Deathloop, which I just thought I wouldn't go as far as saying it's the Emperor's New Clothes.
The official game of the year.
I know. I know.
But no, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I've seen it. I've not played it properly, but no, God, I'll let you carry on. I'm with you on that.
No, I know. You always run the risk of sounding like just being a contrarian. Like, I'm beyond that kind of game. My favourite game of the year is... And then name something that only two people have played.
Us.
But no, it's not that pretentiousness. I actually think that, Deathloop's got loads of great ideas. I think it looks fabulous. I think it's very, very clever. I just didn't take to... I've said it on the podcast before. I don't think they nailed the core gameplay well enough. I think that, we talk about Halo and you can play it for 2 minutes and just go, they've got the guns nailed. Absolutely nailed down. The gunplay is fantastic. you can spend a long time in Deathloop going, why am I not enjoying using this weapon?
Yeah.
Why, when I switch to that weapon, is that one not any better? And then eventually, after a while, you're like, I don't like any of these weapons. None of them are fun to use. None of them are clicking with me at all. And then if you're not enjoying the core combat loop, that's not enough. I don't want to play a game just for story. There has to be, not a first-person shooter. There has to be enjoyable shooting.
Yeah.
And for me, they just didn't grasp that at all.
Yeah, no, and again, would that pass the test of if this was just squares and colours, would it work?
Yeah.
And if it doesn't pass that test, I everything that I've seen about it, again, I'm not going to go to because I've not played it, but I've watched videos, I've seen people playing it, and I look at it and I'm not going, oh, I can't wait till I can see properly enough to play this.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Well, I said when I reviewed it at the time a few months ago, I said it's one of those that next year in 2022, or maybe even a bit longer, there'll be loads of those articles of, so why was Deathloop pretty crap?
oh, like Dragon Age Inquisition when that was Game of the Year. People going, how?
Yeah, there'll be all that kind of, oh, I knew right back then it wasn't as good as everyone was saying. No, you didn't. You were saying it was great. You got on the same gravy train as everybody else and said it was absolutely great and it was Game of the Year without exposing its flaws. And it's one of those that it's still a good game.
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy it personally, but I would say I'm grown up enough to say just because I didn't like it doesn't mean it's a bad game. It's not a bad game. It's a good game.
No, we could talk about bad games another time. Yeah, it's not a bad game. It's a well-made game.
Yeah. But for it to be
it's no Sonic 4.
No. But to be this universal critical darling that doesn't go into its flaws is kind of frustrating because you want there to be enough truth in there for it to be universal. So the Game of the Year really should appeal to the broadest possible majority and not be conditional upon you getting over its big flaws. So that's for me why it's such a disappointment.
Yeah, no, 100%. Again, I'm okay. You could get flaws in games are fine because there's flaws in everything. But if you've got to battle those flaws, you can enjoy a game. Don't get me wrong. And I'm not saying that someone can't have Deathloop as their Game of the Year because every year's been Tetris for me. People get bored of me saying Tetris is the Game of the Year. I mean, it is, and that's an uncategorical fact.
Yeah.
But it's. But yeah, people go, Tetris is crap. I don't like Tetris. I don't like puzzle games. And, I can turn around and say, yeah, but if you argue, it's my personal game. Yeah, I get why it's not Game of the Year. But it's the same with Deathloop. I don't get how it's Game of the Year. I mean, I know I've got access to this because we share our libraries. So I could install this now and play it. I don't want to waste the bandwidth yet. I'm going to wait until it hits Xbox next year when the exclusivity's over, and I could just do it with the cloud.
Yeah.
If I like it, then I'll install it, but nothing's making me go, yeah, I'm going to install this and try it.
And you see, yeah, it's going to get a really massive backlash when it gets released on other platforms and loses its exclusivity. And the hot take is going to be, well, why did this get so much plaudits?
Yeah.
And that's wrong as well, Yeah. That's reaction. That's reactionary. That's clickbaity. Because, again, it's a good game. It's just that it has enough flaws to make it not Game of the Year. Whereas, objectively, I would say you could, for example, make Forza Horizon 5 Game of the Year, and I'd just do a little golf clap because it's an excellent game. It's one that I didn't like, but that's down to me personally. But I would say
it's why UK go fair enough.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean,
whereas I can't with Deathloop.
Yeah,
I've heard not even from that. I've heard so many pundits go, "We've played Deathloop. Here's what's wrong with it." Yet it's still getting voted Game of the Year. And it's like, when most of the discussion is, here's what's wrong with Deathloop, here's what it does wrong, but then you've got a problem.
Red flag immediately. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. There you go.
So is that it, or have we got one more category?
We have. Hang on.
Oh.
Yes. So this is a much more positive one to end on, and it's one of the big ones. It's best graphics.
Oh.
And this can be either, it doesn't have to be a game you liked, but one that you just thought the graphics are amazing, or it could be something that's very, very small, but you love the aesthetic of it. It's just like what looked best to you, that this year.
Yeah, for me, best graphics isn't best shiny.
No.
Oh. Right. Ooh, I've got to think about this because I've got a couple. So, ironically enough, it's a game I've not played. It's a game that you seemingly don't like. I'm going to say Deathloop is for one of them. I think aesthetically, it's got a kind of grindhouse aesthetic to it. It looks like Robert Rodriguez has got his hands to it in a way.
Yeah.
And I like that. It reminds me of... Do you remember Wet?
I do, yes, I do.
It reminds me of, as though Deathloop reminds me someone's played Wet and gone, I really like that. Let's do something with that visually.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't surprise me if, Alicia Dushku turns up somewhere. Alicia Dushku, turns up somewhere. No, Alicia Cuthbert. Eliza Dushku. If she turns up somewhere as a character from Wet in some DLC or something.
That should happen more in games, that characters from other games appear as DLC. That would be ace.
Also, Wet was an underappreciated classic. Just got to point that out.
I've never played it. I must try and track down a copy. Yeah.
Yeah. Flawed as buggery. Again, it's Deathloop in a way. It's flawed as buggery, but it's fun. Again, I'm nowhere going, it should be Game of the Year 2008 or whatever. I just really enjoyed it. But I also have a huge crush on Eliza Dushku.
Fair play. Yeah.
But I just wanted to point that out because it's in there, and I think it's one of the bigger games that I think actually has a striking aesthetic. But I'm not going to say Tetris because that's boring to say that, even though it's fantastic looking. So two. One of them is Circuit Superstars, which is a isometric style racing game that's like part sim, part arcade. Just looks really good. Just looks really, really good. I can't explain it. There's nothing special about it, but just visually, it just looks like a really good, you could feel the game in its visuals, and it just works really well.
It's gorgeous. It is gorgeous.
And you don't notice it straight away. That's the weird thing. I've played I've played it in early access and stuff like that, and I can't put my finger on what it is, and it doesn't hit you straight away. But it's only when you kind of look at other games, you go back and look at it and go, yeah, okay, yeah, this is a really good looking game. Somehow the different classes feel different from a distance, and the tracks feel alive, even though it is just an isometric style game. I can't put my finger on it, but it's really, really good. But in terms of pure aesthetics, in terms of graphics, in terms of what it does and how important it is to the game, I'm going to say Railroute. On PC. Yeah. Again, it's almost like the Thomas Was Alone effect. It's nothing but lines and blocks, light on a dark background. It's like playing, if you've ever seen an actual routing console at a train station, it's like playing that as a game.
Yeah.
And it's nailed this aesthetic. They could have done this with trying to do fancy looking trains to show what each one is and stuff like that. Nope. Little colour moments, so when a track's live and a train's travelling on it because it goes green. Sort of what the trains are coming because they're just little box carriages. It's all flat, but it's got so much life to it. Each of the symbols makes perfect sense. And I just think it's one of those, it's a perfect blend of taking an aesthetic that makes sense for what this game is trying to convey, making it work in a game setting, and just looks the part. For something that's so flat, it looks really good, especially once you've built up a massive train network. I think for me, that is one of the best games graphically this year because it's one of the most simplistic and it does its job perfectly.
Yeah, well, on that very kind of similar aesthetic, I really loved the look of Mini Motorways, which was this year.
Yes.
So that's definitely one of my picks. And again, that's like, it's just really simplistic. It's really straightforward. It looks like a really kind of high value, expensive presentation that you would get at like a really, a big design firm or something. It's kind of like that. But like you said about Railroute, it's just got that glorious simplicity that just transcends like the power of the machine that it's running on, and it's just doesn't take up a lot of power but still looks absolutely amazing.
It's Mini Metro worked perfectly because it was like playing you was designing an underground map. So I was surprised they kept a very similar aesthetic for Mini Motorways, but it does work so well. It really, really does, and I think that's a really good choice. And it does show as well that sometimes, not even sometimes, I would say most of the time, get your aesthetic right. It just does not matter it doesn't have to be spectacular. I think we've moved past the point now where we need to have as many shiny, like proper lighting effects as possible. A simple aesthetic that helps with the game's mechanics is just perfect. And sometimes that simplicity is what just makes it. I don't think Mini Motorways would look good or play as well if they tried to do realistic looking motorways that you plop down. Because I know playing City Skylines, I love that game, but bloody hell is it hard to keep an eye on what's going on.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's more about the aesthetic than it is about the clarity. It's abstract. It's something that the mind makes really good connections with. The colours are very kind of muted. They're not pastel, but they're kind of, subtle and soft. Yeah. And it's designed to be, the aesthetics are designed to be as much a part of the experience, as anything, as the gameplay itself. And I think if you look at something like Loop Hero, just to talk about something you were talking about just earlier, that very much does a thing where it's like, this was what was available in the past, and we're bringing that back, and that aesthetic evokes a certain feeling in you. It makes you think of that kind of game from the early 90s, and that's great. Yeah. But it's the kind of the busyness of it and the kind of the lack of immediate clarity is a deliberate choice. But it you could go, it's great graphically because it does that in a clever way, but that's in a completely different way to the simplistic look of this. So yeah, all I'm saying is it takes all sorts really to make good graphics, and it depends on what you're trying to do. But my next pick would be Sable, which we also just talked about very briefly. I played the demo. I really wasn't impressed with the way that it played. The full game might be more fun, but I wasn't taken with it. But the graphics are like Moebius, the French graphic artist. That style, absolutely fantastic looking. It's just a wonderful looking game.
Yeah, it's one of those games that is very much like Gris from, I'm going to say 2017 Gris came out, maybe 2018. Yeah. The gameplay to me in that, it's almost the opposite effect to what I want from some games. Like the graphics on, like I say, Railroad, Mini Motorways, just work perfectly with the mechanics of the game. I think with Gris and Sable, to a degree, the game doesn't matter. You could just sit and watch those games being played because they look beautiful and they're art disguised as games.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that. I think I might watch a full run through of Sable. I think I might really enjoy that.
Yeah.
It's one of those, a good counter argument to people who go, oh yeah, why watch Twitch people playing games when you can play them yourself? It's like, that's just stupid. This is a stupid argument. But I would enjoy watching somebody play it, I think.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I've played, I'm going to say, is it on Game Pass? I'm sure I tried it on Game Pass.
I think so, yeah. Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, I think I had a little go. But again, my eyes mean, because it's so bright, I can't appreciate what the game actually is. So I have watched it on YouTube. Sorry, I've watched playthroughs on YouTube, and spectacular from a distance. Even though there's some bits I can't see, you could see the art coming through from it, and that's a brilliant choice. It's the total opposite of what Railroad tries to do. Yeah, tries to do.
Succeeds
it
at.
just does the opposite. Yeah, here comes the ADHD stuff now. And it's just, it's just shows that you can have one or the other. You can have both. But notice how neither of us have gone for anything that goes, oh my God, this game looks so realistic.
Yeah.
No one, who cares?
Yeah, no, not really. I just saw, just last night, saw a video of a new game coming out called, what is it? Scarce Souls or something? And it sounds like a Souls game, but it isn't. I will get the name in just a moment. But that uses Unreal Engine 5, and obviously we're going to start now seeing games built in it, and it does some fantastic stuff that other game engines can't do, that is purely about it being new, and powerful.
Yeah.
But it's not powerful in a way that it's trying to make everything look real. It looks like Silent Hill 2, but with stuff in there that engine couldn't possibly do. Certainly not all at the same time. And it's like they've taken something that's really, really powerful and just used it to make something really impressive, but without striving to just be like, oh, well, we can do realism now, so let's do that.
Yeah.
It's taken an aesthetic choice, and that's really great. That's exactly what people should be doing. And that's the thing with mini motorways. It might look really simplistic, but it'll actually be just getting it to run so smoothly and all of those things to interact without clash. All of that takes a lot of skill and effort and power, and they've just carefully hidden that behind the curtain. They've just put a beautiful curtain over the top of it, so you never have to think about it. And that's just a wonderful trait in some developers, I think.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I look back at games of the past, and you actually realise they're not as good to play as you thought, but visually they still hold up. So like Jet Set Radio, I think has aged in terms of the way it controls. Not Jet Set Radio Future, because that's still amazing to play. Get that re-released.
Yeah.
But Jet Set Radio has aged pretty badly control-wise.
Yeah.
Visually, oh my God, that still holds up today.
It does.
Borderlands, I think, is a bang average game. But, boy, does it look pretty still. 13. Just look at what they did with the bloody remake. They took out the aesthetics, pretty much still had the same game, and all of a sudden it was crap. Because realism... Why do we game? We don't game for realism. We game to escape reality.
Yeah.
So, great, that rock looks like a real-life rock, and I'm impressed by that. It is impressive, and I don't mind the odd game doing it, but I don't want to see everyone striving for that. There's no need. There's honestly no need.
Yes, no, I know what you mean. It just doesn't have to be... It needs to be there in the background, but it doesn't have to be the focus kind of a thing. So, yeah, use your power budget wisely, I think. And that game that I was talking about is called Stray Souls. And I'll put a link to it on Twitter, and it's definitely worth checking out, because all Unreal Engine 5 stuff coming out now is kind of going to make people's jaws drop, it because there's just stuff about it that you just couldn't do before, and you'll see what I mean when you watch it. But yeah,
do you remember when people were blown away by the level of fidelity on the Final Fantasy movie?
Yeah, I know. Crazy, isn't it?
It's going to replace actors, they said. We're not there yet, but we're getting there. I saw for the first time that opening... Is it an opening scene, possibly, of Terminator Dark Fate?
Yeah.
Where they digitally redone, not young, but middle-aged Sarah Connor and Edward Furlong. I don't know what his name is in the film. I keep forgetting.
Oh.
John Connor.
That's it. Of course.
The main character.
Yeah.
And it's that's really impressive for its time, which is only a couple of years ago. But it shows when you use visuals like CGI, within 10 minutes it starts to show its age.
Yeah.
Which is why the first Jurassic Park's still the best, because of the amount of actual proper models they used, that when they did use CGI, it complemented it. Yeah. Whereas Jurassic Park 3 and others look because they didn't use physical. So again, striving for realism might look good at the time, but it soon ages really badly. I mean, have you looked at LA Noire recently?
Oh, God, yeah.
I remember being blown away by that. Now, I can't. It makes me feel physically sick looking at it because it just looks wrong.
I know what you mean.
Are we doing, by the way, are we going to do a category down the line of what we're looking forward to next year, or was that not in your list?
I hadn't thought of it, but that's a really good choice. But
we won't this week. We'll talk about that next week because there's a game that's just been announced that me and possibly the developers have heard of.
Oh, wow, that popular, eh?
Yeah, that was out on Android, so it's a mobile game first. So, again, don't let this put you off, but it looks really, really good. Well, it plays really, really good. And I said to the developers a couple of years ago, this needs to come onto Switch. And they said, keep your eyes peeled. It's coming. I can't wait. I'll tell you what it is next week.
Awesome. Nice one. Yeah, looking forward to it. I'll just finish off by saying I couldn't let best graphics go without saying Guilty Gear Strive, because whenever I see it, I'm just utterly blown away by the fact that it's animation. It looks like animation, traditional 2D animation, but they're 3D models, and it can go into 3D whenever it wants. I will never get over that, and I think it looks amazing.
You're not playing it. It's completely scripted. It's a scripted animation. You're not playing that game. You just think you're playing it.
Yeah.
It's that smooth.
I know. So, yeah.
Yeah, good shout. That's a really good shout.
So, yeah, all of those. Very beautiful.
Yeah, so I think, unless you've got anything specific you want to cover, there's no real mental health chat probably over these next couple of weeks as we see out the new year. There's some new plans coming for the start of the year. We're going to have a slight restructure on things. Fingers crossed more video stuff will start coming back out again, one way or another. But it's, probably not much mental health stuff unless anything major happens. So it means probably no real political stuff over the next couple of weeks. I say, listen, unless Stu wants to jump in and go, actually, I want to talk about this.
Well, actually, no, I don't. I'm more than happy to just talk about positive, light stuff from now until the new year.
Yes, because 2022 is going to be better for everybody.
Yeah, it's sunshine and roses, definitely.
Sounds like the name of a really depressing film by the person who done Requiem for a Dream.
Darren Aronofsky.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, let's try and make it so that it isn't like that next year.
Let's make Sunshine and Roses. It's a film about meth addicts. It's fine.
Yeah. But anyway, on a lighter note, so next week we've got more Game of the Year stuff.
Drawn at random.
And then the next week after that is Christmas, and that will be our top. How many are we doing? Are we going to do a top 5 or a top 10? What do you want to do?
If we do a top 10, we'll be probably recording it into the new year.
True.
You want me to talk about 10 games, so we'll go top 1.
Top 1. Yeah.
I don't know. We'll go for what we'll do. I've got a number of games in there, so I'll list, we'll maybe list 10 to 5, just we won't talk about them. We'll list 10 to 5, and then we'll talk a bit about our top 5 each.
Sounds good. We'll do that. So there you go, you got that to look forward to. And in the meantime, have a good week if you can. Look after yourself, join our Discord to chat, and you don't have to just chat about mental health, talk about any topic that you like. But in the meantime, stay safe and stay sane.